You can see, you know, as you look at the river, the clarity of the river is one of the reasons why it's so good for mussels, because a lot of sediment in the river makes the water cloudier, and that sediment settles out, and it's real bad for the mussel communities. If you think about mussels, they don't move very far and they don't move very fast, and so they can't escape those kinds of conditions like that. So that sediment piles up on top of them and chokes them off from their food supplies. So there's probably upwards of 49 different species of mussels that live in the Tippecanoe. And if you think about historically, 49 species live here, 57 were historically reported in the river. So that level of species retention is almost unprecedented amongst rivers, especially agricultural rivers like the Tippy is.
Now, do you, the reason for having fewer is biodiversity? That's the big word, hot word nowadays, isn't it? Biodiversity.
Absolutely. And you know, yes, the biodiversity in this river is extremely high, just because of the quality of the water and the stability of the stream bed. And so, yeah, the biodiversity in this river is really, really high. Like I say, 49 of the 57 historically reported mussel species are still here, and that's pretty incredible when you think about most other streams of its kind. It's also home to the clubshell mussel, and the clubshell is a federally endangered species that only lives in the best remaining places in the world. And so at one point, until they found a whole bunch of clubshell mussels in Pennsylvania somewhere when they were trying to move a bridge, this was the strongest and most significant population of the clubshell mussels remaining in the world. So it's, you know, one of the best places for those endangered species in the world.
Excellent. How many of the mussels are endangered species here?
There's 2 in the Tippy that most recently were designated as endangered species, and that's the clubshell mussel that's found, you know, all through the northern parts of the river, and then there was a northern riffle-shell mussel that was found downstream from Lake Freeman. So I think the one downstream from Lake Freeman still, I'm not exactly sure if it's still here. It's still in the river, but they're finding, you know, populations of clubshell mussel still up and down the upper part of the river, all over the place. There's also some state endangered species and other species in here that just more common garden variety species.
49 is a lot of different species.
It is, yeah. It's especially for a river that's largely draining agricultural land, you know, because of often you have sediment concerns and other, you know, concerns that are specifically detrimental to mussels.
Excellent. Okay, so why are mussels important?
They're just a part of the food chain, like a lot of different things, you know, mussels, otters, muskrats. They eat, otters, muskrats, those kinds of things. They eat freshwater mussels. They're just and they're also an indicator of water quality. They're sort of that canary in the coal mine, especially the real sensitive mussels. If you go out and if you take a section of river that's got good habitat and you only find like garden variety species that you could find about anywhere, you could probably say that the water quality in that area has been impacted by something. But if you go out and you find in a good habitat area, what you'd expect to find is a range of things. You expect to find the common mussels. You also expect to find the mussels that are less common, and so those that are more sensitive. And in that instance, if you find that variety like that, you can say that the water quality has been pretty good, because they're out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the way they eat, they're filter feeders. So they're filtering water through their bodies and gleaning out the nutrients from the water. And anything that's filtering like that certainly is at the mercy of what comes down the river. And if bad stuff's coming down the river, it's going to filter through that mussel, and it'll accumulate in there and eventually kill certainly the sensitive ones. So they're the canary in the coal mine when you think of rivers.